Hello everyone, this is Dr. Hafiz Mohammad Usman Rana live from Birmingham and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to begin with a question. For years we have been asking the wrong question about climate change. The question has always been, how much will climate change cost us? I think that is no longer the right question. Now the real question is this: how is climate change redefining the economy itself? This week, the United Kingdom broke its June temperature record for 3 consecutive days, reaching a provisional 37.3 degrees Celsius. More than 1,000 schools were affected. Hospitals declared critical incidents. Rail services slowed down. Buildings overheated. Across Europe, countries experienced one of the most intense June heat waves on record. And most commentators see this as a weather story. Some see it as an environmental story, but I see it differently. I believe Britain is entering what I call the climate economy, an economy in which extreme weather is no longer an occasional disruption, but a permanent economic variable, just like interest rate, inflation, or unemployment. Think about how economists traditionally analyze an economy. We look at productivity, we look at inflation, we look at government spending, investment, financial markets. Now imagine that every one of those variables is influenced by extreme heat. And that is exactly what is beginning to happen. The first effect is productivity. Every economy depends on people working efficiently. Construction workers, delivery drivers, warehouse staff, farmers, and emergency services, they cannot maintain same productivity if the temperature reaches at this level that the country was never designed for. Even office workers becomes less productive in overheated buildings. A few percentage points of lost productivity across millions of workers translates into billions of pounds in lost economic output. Now the second effect is public finance. Heat waves increase pressure on the NHS through dehydration, heat exhaustion, and cardiovascular illness. Emergency service become busier. Local authorities, if you see, face higher operating costs. Government must spend more simply to maintain the same level of public services. Now the third effect is infrastructure. If you see Britain's roads, railways, schools, hospitals, and electricity networks, they were largely designed for 20th century climate. Today they are being tested by a 21st century climate. Every rail delay, every overheated classroom, and every electricity surge represents a reminder that our infrastructure is becoming economically obsolete unless we invest to modernize it. And the fourth effect is inflation. So if you see, extreme heat reduces agriculture output, increases electricity demand, raises insurance cost, and disrupts supply chains. And we often blame inflation and oil prices or central banks. Increasingly, climate shocks are becoming inflation shocks. But I believe the biggest transformation is happening in financial markets. During London Climate Action Weeks, something remarkable happened. A few years ago, discussions were dominated by one question: how do we reduce carbon emissions? This year, another question took center stage, and that is, how do we survive a hotter world? Investors, insurers, governments, and businesses are no longer focusing only on carbon footprints. They are asking which cities can withstand extreme heat, which infrastructure remain investable, which assets remain insurable, and which economies are resilient enough to continue growing despite climate shocks. So that shift tells us something profound. The financial system is beginning to value resilience as much as sustainability. And this is why I believe green finance is entering a new phase. For years, green finance meant funding renewable energy, electric vehicles, and carbon reduction. But today, green finance is evolving into climate resilience finance. Its purpose is no longer simply to prevent climate change. Its purpose to prepare economies for the climate that already exists. And that means financing heat-resistant hospitals, climate-resilient schools, modern electricity grids, battery storage, urban cooling, water infrastructure, and smarter cities. So these are not environmental luxuries now. They are economic necessities. Another fascinating development emerged this week. If you see, the UK government announced a new climate security task force. Think about that for a moment. Climate change is now influencing national security policy. And what's the reason behind it? Because climate risks are increasingly linked to migration, food security, energy security, insurance markets, and geopolitical stability. And this tells us that climate policy is no longer confined to environment ministries. It's becoming economic policy. It's becoming financial policy, and it's also becoming an industrial policy and national security policy. So as an economist, I think this is the most important lessons from this week's heat wave. The debate is no longer about whether climate change exists. That debate is over. The real economic debate has changed. The question is no longer how much climate change will cost. Now the question is which economies will adapt first and which economies will fall behind. History teaches us that every major economic transformation creates winners and losers. If you see, the Industrial Revolution created a new economic leaders. The digital revolution created another generation of winners. I believe the next great economic race will be the race for climate resilience. The countries that redesign their infrastructure, modernize their energy systems, protect their workforce, and invest in resilience will not only protect lives, but they will also attract investment. They will also strengthen the productivity and build more competitive economies. So that is why I believe this week's record-breaking heat wave is much more than a weather event. It's a signal that Britain is entering a new economic era, not simply the green economy, the climate economy. And perhaps the biggest economic question of the next decade will not be who emits the least carbon, it will be who adapts the fastest. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, please share your thoughts in the comments. Think Britain is preparing quickly enough for the climate economy, or are we still planning for a climate that no longer exists? I look forward to reading your views, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.